Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to create your very own in-demand virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 11, The Power of Saying No.
Woo-hoo, it's such a skill. It really is a skill, isn't it? To learn how to turn down work. And I know there's going to be lots of people that are listening, especially those that haven't launched their business or have only just launched. They may not have any clients at all. And even the thought of turning down a paying job would just be blowing their minds right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And those who are more established, they are definitely going to have to start saying no. And that, like, they might have filled themselves up or started like hiring a team. And then it's really, really important that you say no to some things if they're just not a right fit or there's red flags, because the implications down the track, because you've said no, can be like exponential and even more have a larger impact than if you're just starting out.
I remember the first time I turned down work and I just felt sick. Like I felt as though I was going against everything it was to be a new business owner. It just didn't sit right. But there was something in my gut telling me that this just wasn't going to be a good fit and it probably wasn't going to end well. There were just some red flags. So I had to pull on my big girl pants and just do it. But it went against everything I thought it was to be a business owner at that point.
Do you know what I think is part of that, not wanting to say no, is that as an employee, like most of us who've started our VA businesses, we've been employees as executive assistants or whatever, accounts administrators. And when you are an employee, you definitely do not say no to anything. And as an EA especially, like, if I had other EAs in my team that, started saying, oh, that's not my job, that was just a massive no-no. And like, you would do anything that you needed to do to support your manager and free up their time. And so when you take that mindset into your business, that can be detrimental too, because you've got to try and unlearn that saying no is actually okay. And yeah, like you say, that the impact later on, or the feeling of like, oh, I just don't want to do this work, or I don't want to call this client because I don't really like them. Like that stuff really plays on your mind and it just holds you back.
It does. It's so much easier to say yes than it is to say no.
It definitely is. Yeah. And I think if you can understand that every time you say yes to something, you're actually saying no to something else.
Yes. Yeah, you're
Every
opening yourself
single
up,
time.
aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you say yes to someone who wants 10 hours a week, but they want it like that you have to be available from 8:30 to 5 every day. And if your why is that you want total flexibility, and this client is saying, can you answer my phones and can you check my emails like every hour? Well, by saying yes to that, you're actually saying no to the flexibility to pick up your kids from school, the flexibility to go to swimming lessons, the flexibility of, just being able to pop out and go have lunch with someone or a friend, or, all these things that you have now said no to because you said yes to something that just isn't the right fit.
Yeah, that's key actually. Any new leads that comes in, it's really important to go back to your why you started your business, and your business goals. Go back to those. Are they aligned with this potential client? Is the work that they're wanting you to do, is that in alignment? Is the personality type, are they going to be a good fit? Are they in alignment? It really comes back to your why.
Yeah, absolutely. Understanding and committing to a why right at the beginning of your virtual assistant journey is so key, because it then helps you make a decision on everything else that comes after that point. in every decision that you make in your business so that it's right for you. Because none of us went into business just so that we could replace our old job with a new job that we also don't like.
Yeah.
We're in control of all of the decisions that we make now in our business. And so, yeah, you can say yes and no to whatever you want to, and you are absolutely in control of all of those decisions.
Yeah, too right. Now, should we touch on kind of like some of the key reasons why a virtual assistant would be saying no to a potential client?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a client who has said, oh, actually, like 55, let's say we're talking in New Zealand dollars, 55, $60, that's too expensive. Will you work for me for $35 an hour? If you said
No.
yes to that, then you're saying no to other clients coming on board, paying your $55, $60 rate or whatever your rate is. You're saying no to allowing the space for them to come on board, and you'll resent doing the work because you know
Mhm.
you're only going to get 35. However, there's this balance where if you are just starting out and you need the money to come in, like that is your number one priority, just get any money coming in so that you can stay in business and work on your business and get it to a point where you want to get it to, then it could be that you say yes to something like that, who maybe they're going to give you lots of hours. Maybe you can see the potential for you to find a contractor who could do this work later on in the future. Maybe it's a good way to be able to bring some money in so that you can spend some time getting some really high value premium clients in. It gives you a bit of breathing space. And it might be right for you to actually drop your rate and do something initially. But that would be a very rare case. We are
Mm.
absolutely strong on not ever discounting and strong on knowing your value and insisting that you are worth it and that you can be paid whatever your hourly rate is. But again, it comes down to your why. It comes down to
Mhm.
your situation. It comes down to, if you're going to say yes to that, what are you saying no to? If you're going to say no to that, what do you then have the ability to say yes to? And so it really comes down to what is actually right for you, what is right for your why, what is right for your financial situation.
Yeah, early on in my career, I remember saying yes to a few jobs that were about $10 less than my hourly rate was at the time. And at that point, my hourly rate was probably, well, it was too low to be starting off with anyway. But it was that panic. It was that, well, of course I'm going to say yes. And as you said, it didn't take long for me to resent the you know what out of these people. And so
Mm,
every single time my inbox pinged and it was from these particular clients, just this feeling of dread and not wanting to do it because I had these other, after the fact, I'd taken on these, clients that wanted to pay me less. It wasn't long before the other clients then started coming in that were more than willing to pay my asking price. So then it was like, well, how do you balance that out? I've got this person that's willing to pay me $60 an hour rather than $40 an hour.
mm.
It's really hard knowing, getting that balance right, providing the service that you've committed to providing, where you're not actually getting paid what you should be getting paid. It's a slippery slope.
Absolutely. And if you say yes to that client and they come on board and you resent doing the work, you're going to have to come up with how you're going to actually fire the client. You're going
Yeah.
to have to suck it up and do one of the worst parts of being in business, the like firing people, team members, or firing clients. And yeah, you're going to have to do that at some point. So be willing and know that if you say yes to that, then you're going to have to say no to them at some point. And is that going to be worse than you saying now no before they get started?
Yeah, I actually hadn't thought of it that way until you've just said it, but it's so true. In the great scheme of things, yes, it's hard to say no often, but it's actually harder in the long run to fire a client. Trust me,
Mhm.
that conversation is much harder to have because you've built a relationship with these people and sometimes you really like them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be that you do enjoy doing the work, but it's just not right for you because it's low. They don't want to pay any higher. And so you have other clients coming on that will pay your hourly rate.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
there are other reasons to say no to potential clients there, aren't there? I mean, I've actually said no just this morning, and it's been a while. It's been a while since, because I actually, we'd had some email correspondence, we'd had a phone call, and we'd had a Zoom chat at this point. So I was actually I'd never said no this far into that kind
Mm.
of onboarding process, so to speak. It was a first for me, and that was what, 5 years down the track in my virtual assistant business. But the more I was getting to know this person, and I'm sure this person was a very nice person, but there were just these red flags. Uh, you know, a few times that he would, I didn't notice it to start with, but in the last Zoom call we had, I realized that he was constantly talking over me, constantly interrupting, not letting me finish. He would ask me a question and then not let me finish my answer. We were talking about SEO, and he didn't like the fact that I wasn't going to be able to guarantee to get him on page 1 of Google within a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was all these red flags, and the interesting thing with this particular client, it was actually referred to me by somebody that I really respect in the New Zealand business community. So I had this. I was quite willing to say no, but then this brought on a whole
Mm.
heap of other kind of potential dramas. Like, what's this person that's been referring work to me a few times now this year? How's she going to react? So I was actually probably more concerned about her telling her that I was going to be saying no to her client. How was that going to impact our relationship? So
Mm.
I flicked her an email, and you know what? I've got a missed call from her when I was getting ready this morning, and I saw I had a missed call from her, and I just thought, oh my gosh, she's calling me. This must be really bad. She's going to tell me that, what am I doing? I should be taking this job because it's a really good opportunity. But just before coming on here and recording this episode, I checked the message, and she was like, actually, you know what? I'm really proud of you because I'm actually thinking of firing this client. So it just goes to show, do not ignore those red flags. You are not going to be the right fit for everybody. Not every client is going to be the right fit for you. And this is your business. And if you want to be enjoying your business, I think you need to be really careful about who you accept work from.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have an example where maybe 3 years ago, we had the opportunity to work for this amazing client that we knew was going to be a real opportunity, and the flow-on effect for us could have been huge in terms of leads and getting in front of a whole lot of other businesses. So we were like really pumped about getting this client, and we did everything that we could to secure the client. I think we even took a plane ride to go actually meet them in person
Wow.
and have the sales meeting. And the thing that I regret about that, sales process, and you take people through your terms of engagement and how it's going to work, etc., and who's going to do the work. And will never forget one of the things that they said when they had reviewed the terms of engagement. They came back and said, "Oh, I see that you've got a interest charge for any overdue invoices," and it's like, I think it was maybe 3% per month or something like that. It's really high if you make that into annual terms. And they questioned that, and they said, "Oh, that's a really high interest rate," and questioning the fact that they would get charged if they were late. Now I know that is a huge red flag, because if they are worried about that, then they are pretty much saying we are late payers to all of our suppliers, and we're going to have to incur interest charges. So that's why they questioned it. Now, if I had actually thought about that and noticed that red flag and took a step back and not got swept up in the like, oh, this is going to be an amazing client, an amazing opportunity, then I might have made a different decision. But I went against my gut and my better judgment and I went with it anyway. And they ended up owing us at one point $16,000. And I had team members who were delivering the work and I had already obviously had to pay them. And it just really, really put our cash flow under extreme pressure. And yeah, we eventually got the money out of them, but the stress and the what had transpired was absolutely not worth what we actually got out of the relationship with them. So
Wow. Oh my goodness. And it just goes to show that is definitely a red flag. If somebody is questioning you, even signing a service agreement, contract, terms of engagement, whatever you want to call it, is all the same thing. If someone's saying, well, why do you want me to sign this? For me, that would be a red flag.
yeah, absolutely. We now have a rule that we never let people get that far overdue with us. We cut them off a lot earlier. And we never start working until someone signs. Like it's just a blanket rule. And every time previously, before we made it a blanket rule, every time we would start work with someone who didn't sign, it always turned bad every single time. So we've learned that now. We never start until they have signed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, isn't it interesting? Even those clients that you think on paper are going to be amazing, if you go against your gut, that little niggly little voice in your head saying, "Oh, should I be worried about that?" Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Listen to that voice. Listen to that gut. I know I had a really cool opportunity to work for a very well-known New Zealand musician. He contacted me. I think he'd found me on my website. He must have Googled virtual assistants. He'd had virtual assistants before. And he, wanted me to work with him because he wanted somebody with a kind of a really creative flair, I guess. And I was super excited. Like, this would have been a feather in my cap for sure. But he was not willing to pay my hourly rate. I think he was, I think at the time my hourly rate might have been 55. So once again, not huge compared to what it is now. He was only willing to pay me 45. And I said no.
Good on
That was
you.
hard. That was
Yeah.
really, really hard. But I knew, just due to his lifestyle, lots of overseas travel, so that there was going to be lots of kind of like booking flights and accommodation, and we all know that can sometimes be really icky, like getting those kind of travel itineraries right. There's a lot of work that goes into that. And I thought, well, gosh, if that's going to be my main thing that I'm going to be doing for him, which isn't actually the thing that fills me with the most joy, I want to be paid my hourly rate. So I said no, but no regrets. No regrets.
No, definitely not. And yeah, it's easy to see where you went wrong in hindsight, but like, good on you for not actually having to figure it out and have it go bad, and you made that decision early, and it absolutely would be the best decision, because if they are questioning your rate, they're going to question the time that you spend on your timesheet, going to question the invoices, they're potentially going to be late payers. Like, there's a whole flow-on effect if someone is trying to get a discount from you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it takes practice. First time I said no, I probably ballsed it up. I probably didn't handle it very well. But by the time that the 10th time I've said no, it gets easier. So there are things that you can do in order to say, make saying no easier for you, the person saying it, and easier for the person that's receiving it.
One of the things that we say is, we just don't think that we're the right fit for you.
Yeah.
And we refer them to someone else, or send them, to the directory to choose, or whatever. But yeah, it's a nice way to say, actually, I don't think the fit's right. And you're not lying, like, the fit isn't right. You've got it. Your values have got to be aligned. The price has got to be right. Like, all the things need to all line up for it to be a fulfilling relationship, a fulfilling client, and help you on your journey to success as a VA.
Yeah, I think when you do say no like that, if it's not right, I like you do, Joe. I always try to see if there's something else I can do. I don't just want to say no and then leave them hanging, because that's probably not going to look good me as a virtual assistant. So no, I'm not going to be a great fit. However, I'm happy to point you in the right direction. I'm happy to give you some recommendations. Although there has been, I think, once when I haven't offered that, because I have known without a doubt that this client, there is no way I would want anybody to be working for this particular client. So I think once I haven't offered that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the power of saying no. It'll stop the heartbreak, the issues, the resentment going forward. And just keep in mind that every time that you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Thanks to everyone for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the Savvy School website to check out the amazing members club and find more free resources.
You can find us at savvyschool.co.nz.